Sometimes we take too long to give a game a chance. Maybe the art style feels off, the reviews are rough, or it simply didn't catch your eye at first. But then you play it, and it becomes a favorite. That's exactly what happened to me with today's picks. These are games I should have played way earlier because they truly blew me away, and I'm pretty sure if you give them a shot, they'll get to you too. Welcome to Play Hunters, and if you feel like supporting the channel by subscribing, I'd really appreciate it from one gamer to another. I nearly skipped this one, thinking it was one of those slow games pretending to be deep. The visuals didn't grab me, and I had no idea how intense it would be. But once I started, I got pulled into something I'd never felt before. You're inside a broken mind, and you feel it constantly. The voices never stop, the air gets heavy, every step feels off. And that's the point. It's not about fun, it's about unease. Everything is built around psychosis, and it's done with absurd precision. The mechanics are simple, but it's all about evoking sensation. There are no open worlds or boss rushes, you're up against invisible pain, and somehow it weighs. Every trial feels symbolic, as if the whole journey is an internal war. The tight camera, the headphone whispers, the quiet moments, all crafted to swallow you whole. And it works. Skipping this game would have been a huge mistake. It's not out to wow you with explosions or spectacle. It pulls you into something raw, intimate, unforgettable. It ends, and you sit there in silence, trying to process what just hit you. There aren't many words, but it says everything it needs. It's bold, essential, and unlike anything else. This is the kind of title that only makes sense if you stick with it. Far from conventional, but it dares to explore things most games avoid. Years later, I still think about what it meant. I'm just glad I didn't let it pass me by. That would have been one of my biggest gaming regrets. When I first saw Dredge, I figured it was just a calm little fishing sim. Minimalist art, slow boats, peaceful vibe. I looked the other way, but a few minutes in, I realized it was hiding something. The sea holds things that don't belong. You start with fishing and cargo runs, but the weirdness creeps in. Twisted fish, whispers, darkness. The horror is subtle, and that's what makes it brilliant. Daytime feels harmless, but when night hits, everything shifts. Lights flicker, monsters emerge, and panic sets in. You've got to choose, risk one more catch, or rush to port before losing it. The tight inventory becomes a puzzle, and time is never on your side. It's about risk, paranoia, and silence. The music doesn't scare, it unsettles, and that tension never leaves. Dredge isn't just odd, it's a love letter to discomfort, disguised as sea adventure. The ocean isn't just deep, it's heavy, and I'm relieved I didn't skip it. It's the kind of journey that's easy to ignore, but unforgettable once you're in. Sometimes the scariest things are wrapped in calm. Glad I didn't judge by the cover. Dredge is one of those quiet shelf dwellers, and once you try it, there's way more beneath. And when it ends, it leaves that weird emptiness. The good kind. Bloody Spell looked generic from the start. Bad name, messy UI, felt like a mobile clone. I passed on it 3 times, but one day, out of curiosity, I tried and got hooked. Combat is fast, fluid, brutally satisfying. You dodge, strike, leap, chain hits with style. It's rough but exciting. The pace keeps boredom away, and right from the start, it clicks. The maps are chaotic, the visuals overdo it, but something holds you. It doesn't try to be polished, just fun, and it nails it. Switching weapons changes everything. Spells hit hard, and the game runs on its own wild logic. It's got flaws, no doubt, but what it does right, pure action, zero filler. It brings back that old school action feel, linked maps, rising challenge. It's tough but fair. Weapons change your approach completely. You unlock spells, traps, buffs along the way. The level design is messy, yet full of charm. You can tell the team cared, even with limits. It's janky, but it has soul, and that sticks with you. Bloody Spell won me over by being honest. It's not the prettiest, deepest, or most original. It just wants to be fast, fierce, and full of punch. Good thing I gave it a shot. Underneath that weird surface, I found something that made me smile. And that beats any perfect score. At first glance, Children of the Sun looked like another artsy shooter with a gimmick. The raw style and slow-mo bullet idea felt overly experimental. But once I played, I saw the genius. You don't shoot recklessly, you plan, reposition, calculate. And that links straight to the woman behind the bullet. Hunting a twisted cult. Every shot has meaning. Every hit feels personal. The story unfolds without much dialogue. You get it through atmosphere, targets, the visuals. The woman guiding the bullet isn't just aiming, she's tearing down something larger. There's darkness behind every exploding face, and that keeps you going. The symbols, cultists, warped environments, it all hints at deep trauma. No cutscenes needed, the message builds as you play, and it trusts you'll follow. Each level is a precision puzzle. The world feels warped, the rules unclear, you miss, retry, shift your angle, and when it clicks, it's magic. New layers are added constantly, making you rethink every move. It's never random, it flows with rhythm, impact, and unmistakable style. The soundtrack gets in your head, locking you into this hypnotic loop. By the end, I felt like I'd seen something rare. It's short, sharp, and wildly original. Glad I didn't walk away because of the art project look. Children of the Sun is about pain, control, and justice. All delivered through a mechanic so tight it feels natural. Skipping it would have been a huge miss. For me, Lost in Random seemed way too childish. Cartoon visuals, tiny main character, dice with eyes. Looked like a kid's game. I almost passed. But something made me try, and right away, I saw there was something special. The story's weird, but it's the kind of weird that draws you in. It's like a twisted fairy tale with strange rules and dreamlike nightmares. Each new town is more bizarre than the last. The combat is another surprise. You roll a die, play cards, freeze time, and activate powers. It blends strategy and real-time action, and it works. You need to think about every move. It's not just button mashing, and the world feels alive. Every corner has odd details, quirky characters, hidden jokes. The art direction is wild, strange, but never ugly. It's like a storybook flipped on its head, sarcastic narrator, eccentric towns, and logic turned upside down. Each area has its own twisted theme, from lottery revolts to twin duels over identity. Battles play out like real-time board games. Roll dicey, pick cards, unleash chaos. Sounds odd, but it grows on you fast. And with every new chapter, the story gets better. Lost in Random won me over with its guts. It's weird on purpose, and that's what makes it work. I could have missed it just because of the art. But I'm glad I didn't. It's the kind of game you finish and immediately recommend just to see someone else's jaw drop too. Days Gone sat in my backlog for months. Labeled buggy and repetitive, it was easy to ignore. But when I finally gave it a go, I saw how much more there was. It follows Deacon, a former biker trying to survive a world wrecked by infection. But it's not about saving the world, it's about losing everything. His wife, his friends, his home. The real journey, holding on to one last piece of humanity. His bike says it all. You fuel it, fix it, protect it. It's his only real link to what's left. The camp's old allies, side missions, they build a broken man trying to keep going. And the world reacts. The infected hordes are real, massive, terrifying, and you have to think twice before engaging. Day and night shifts, everything. The pressure never fades. It's a dangerous world, and the zombie mobs are unreal. You've got to plan every move. That bike becomes your best ally. The sounds of the infected in the distance, enough to make you freeze. Progression feels good, upgrades matter, and before you know it, you're caught up in the chaos. The characters grow on you, and even when the game slips technically, it nails the emotion. Now I get why so many defend it with passion. It's not flawless, but it grows on you. Slowly, then all at once. And maybe the best part? I went in expecting nothing, and got way more than I bargained for. That kind of surprise makes every hour worth it. When I first saw El Paso, Elsewhere, I thought it was just another stylish indie trying too hard to imitate early 2000s action classics. Grainy visuals, slow motion dives, and dramatic voiceovers made it feel like it was pretending to be deep without having much to say. I nearly closed it right after the first few frames. But something made me click, and as soon as I fired that first shot, I realized this wasn't just about style. There was pain, truth, and something real. You play as James Savage, a monster hunter trapped in an interdimensional motel, facing dark creatures and his own past. The story revolves around the end of a relationship with the main villain, now a supernatural force commanding an army. But the focus isn't just on her, it's on how he tries to handle it all. Each floor changes, enemies evolve, but he keeps going, shooting, sinking into his thoughts. It's frantic and melancholic at once. The gameplay draws heavily from Max Payne, with fast shootouts, constant slow-mo, and plenty of room for creative movement. But what really hits is the atmosphere. The soundtrack blends lo-fi hip-hop with gritty guitar, creating a poetic tension between fights. James speaks, not to explain the plot, but to vent. You feel he's on the edge, and the gunfire is just an echo of his inner war. That's what sets El Paso, Elsewhere apart. I expected nothing, and ended up deeply moved. It's raw, unapologetic, and filled with emotion beyond the supernatural story. It's not about saving the world, it's about accepting loss and moving forward anyway. I'm glad I didn't trust that first impression. Beneath the retro look and grindhouse tone, this is one of the most human games I've played in a long time. I'm so glad I stuck with it. I almost overlooked Sun and Bone simply because I couldn't figure out what it was trying to be. The name felt odd, the art was rough, and the trailer's tone left me unsure. But when I dug deeper, I found a far more compelling idea. The game fuses brutal action with mythology and emotional healing. At its heart, it's about a father and son, but not in a sentimental way. It's a hostile world, and there's no room for hugs. Just survival. The story follows a father searching for his son, trapped in a grotesque realm of magic, blood, and twisted creatures. Unlike others, the violence here carries emotional weight. Every fight feels tied to guilt, anger, or desperate hope. The narrative is light on words, but heavy on impact. You don't need full context to feel the journey's weight. That uncertainty makes it more intimate. Every step hurts. Combat is visceral, almost theatrical. Enemies are relentless. The environments feel alive, and weapons evolve with the character's emotional state. There are long silences broken by screams and dreamlike sequences that border on madness. It's a game that demands presence and patience. It's not easy, but if you give it your full attention, it rewards you. And once the story pieces fall into place, it all clicks. Sun and Bone is brutal, symbolic, and unlike anything I've seen in action games. Skipping it for its name or raw visuals would have been a huge mistake. Because in the end, it's not about monsters. It's about grief, fear, and pressing forward even when everything says stop. A quiet game that says a lot. Forged in Shadow Torch looked bizarre the first time I saw it. A rabbit with a giant mechanical arm in a diesel punk world sounded like one of those ideas you're not supposed to take seriously. But digging deeper revealed a surprisingly polished Metroidvania. Torch City is packed with alleys, tunnels, secrets, and mechanical creatures. Beneath the odd visuals is a game with sharp pacing, satisfying combat, and layered exploration. The interconnected map is smart and rewarding, with upgrades unlocking paths you forgot existed. The story is more serious than it seems. You play as Rayton, a retired soldier forced back into action after his friends taken by a brutal regime. The tone leans political, revolution, resistance, echoes of past wars. The world's full of anthropomorphic animals living under cruel military rule. As you go, Rayton's past unfolds. It's light on dialogue, but the storytelling still lands, and everything is soaked in grit and personality. Combat is a standout. You start with a mechanical fist, then unlock drills, whips, and aerial combos. Mixing attacks with parries, dashes, and special moves is addictive. Every hit has weight, and enemies keep you on your toes. You can't just mash buttons. Bosses leave an impression, and the soundtrack builds tension in all the right places. Fights feel like battles and performances. Forged in Shadow Torch ended up being one of the best surprises I've had in a 2.5D game. It may look weird on the surface, but it's incredibly tight underneath. I'm glad I didn't dismiss it for the strange design, because behind a rabbit with a steel arm, I found one of the most rewarding and finely tuned Metroidvanias in years. I almost skipped Prey because the marketing left me lost. Was it a reboot? A sequel? Just another generic sci-fi shooter? I didn't get it. But once I started playing, I realized I was facing one of the smartest games of its generation. You wake up on Talos I, a space station overrun by creatures called Typhon, but nothing is as it seems. From the first simulated sequence, things feel fractured, and from there on it's all paranoia, mystery, and discovery. You play as Morgan Yu, someone involved in experiments that could reshape humanity, but those experiments have spiraled out of control. As you explore the station, you uncover secrets not just others, but your own. Messages, recordings, emails, scattered clues, it all builds a massive puzzle. It's you versus the station, the aliens, and sometimes your own choices. The game doesn't hold your hand. It throws you into chaos and trusts you'll fight it out. What hooked me was how much the game trusts your intelligence. There's no one right way to solve a problem. Hack, use alien abilities, craft tools, or just wing it with whatever you find. Every inch of Talos I feel is built for creative problem solving. It makes each playthrough feel personal. You're not following a script, you're surviving. Prey flew under the radar for many, but it's one of those games that grows with time. It nails that atmosphere of isolation and slow, creeping dread. I'm so glad I gave it a shot. Because in the end, it's not just about aliens, it's about identity, consequences, and what happens when no one's innocent. Back when Dishonored 2 launched, I didn't care much. It felt like a sequel just recycling ideas. I liked the first one, sure, but didn't feel any urgency to continue. It wasn't until much later that I finally gave it a chance and realized it wasn't just more of the same. Karnaca is alive, layered, and a total contrast to the first game's world. A city where decaying wealth meets grime and political tension, and the story adapts to how you play. You can choose to play as Emily Kaldwin or Corvo Attano, each with unique abilities. The plot centers on reclaiming the throne after a coup, but nothing's black and white. Every target has motives, and you never have to kill. That changes everything. How you play reshapes the world. Go violent and the city darkens. Play stealthy and hope returns. The powers are clever and perfectly support the freedom the game offers. Blink, shadow walking, time control, all can be combined in wild ways. The levels are huge, open-ended, filled with secret routes and unexpected ways to approach missions. A simple assassination turns into an elaborate puzzle. The level design is top tier. I regret letting Dishonored 2 sit in my backlog for so long. It's polished, thoughtful, incredibly flexible, a dense narrative, smart gameplay, and full freedom in how you approach it. It reminded me why I love stealth and choice. I'm lucky I didn't skip it. Now it's one of my favorites. It took me forever to play Telltale's The Walking Dead. Back then, the cartoony visuals pushed me away, and a game that was mostly dialogue choices didn't sound exciting. I liked controlling the action, not pressing buttons during cutscenes. I saw trailers, clips, and assumed it was more for those who enjoy story over gameplay, so I ignored it. Years passed before I finally gave it a try, and when I did, I realized I had made a huge mistake. It was unlike anything in the best way. You follow Lee, a man with a troubled past, who finds Clementine, a little girl alone in the apocalypse. From there, it all revolves around their bond. Your choices aren't just moral, they shape lives. Save someone, and they might die later because of it. Reject someone, and they may not be there when you need them. Nothing is simple, and everything matters. It hooked me like few games ever have. The simple graphics now felt perfect for the tone. The comic book style added weight, without trying too hard to be realistic. The pacing, which I once thought was slow, actually made every moment hit harder. The silences, the looks, the helplessness, they all landed. It was the first time a game made me really pause before choosing what to say. And when it ended, I was wrecked and amazed. The Walking Dead now sits at the top of my all-time list. Not for visuals or mechanics, but for how deeply it made me feel. It's about humanity, loss, and doing what's right when nothing is. I'm glad I looked past the art style and went all the way through. It's a story that stays with you for a long, long time. When Telltale announced Batman, I honestly thought it was pointless. I'd played so many Batman games full of combat, gadgets, and open worlds. I didn't see the point of a choice-based one. For me, Batman worked best with fists, not conversations. But after finishing The Walking Dead, I gave it a shot. That's when I realized this was a side of Batman I'd never seen. It dives into the mind, the politics, and the double life, and that changes everything. You're not just the Dark Knight. Most of the time, you're Bruce Wayne, making decisions that don't involve criminals or combat, but real people. Managing the press, protecting loved ones, keeping secrets. When the mask comes on, it's not just a fight. Your choices as Bruce shape your actions as Batman. That weight hangs over every scene, turning the story into a moral maze. It reimagines familiar characters. Alfred, the Waynes, Riddler, Catwoman, all feel more grounded, more complex. Villains aren't just targets, but mirrors to your choices. Combat is stylish, using well-placed quick-time events, but what keeps you going are the dilemmas. You end up caring more about what you say than how you hit, and that's rare in Batman games. I was blown away by Batman. It was the first time I saw the character treated with such nuance. The Max was just one piece of the puzzle. In the end, it's not about saving Gotham. It's about deciding who you want to be in a world where no choice is easy. I nearly missed this because of bias. Now, I consider it one of the most memorable takes on the character. At launch, Mass Effect 3 sparked outrage over its ending. I saw so many complaints that I lost interest. I'd played the first one, loved the second, but the noise around the finale made me delay the third for years. I thought, why invest in something that ends poorly? But eventually, I gave in, and now I see this journey is about everything before the end. And what a journey it is. You lead Shepard on a final mission to unite the galaxy against the Reapers, but the heart of the game lies in the connections you've built. Every decision from the past games comes back. People you saved, alliances you formed, all of it matters. The emotional weight is crushing. Every visit to a planet feels like a goodbye. The music amplifies that feeling. Everything carries finality. Combat is tighter, powers blend smoothly, and there's real freedom in how you build your character. But the real strength lies in its moments. That talk with an old friend before war, the sudden loss, the emails, the audio logs, the quiet conversations. It's not just a battle, it's a farewell. The Mass Effect universe has never felt this alive or this close to collapse. In the end, Mass Effect 3 delivered a fitting conclusion. The ending still splits opinion, but what came before hit so hard it overshadowed the controversy for me. Skipping it because of the noise would have been a mistake. I'm glad I didn't. Because this trilogy, taken as a whole, is one of the most powerful, emotional, and unforgettable journeys I've ever played. When I first saw Evil West, I figured it was just another forgettable action game, the kind that tries to look big but delivers nothing beyond repetitive combat. The idea of monster hunters in the Wild West felt over the top, and the stylized look didn't excite me. But one day I gave it a shot and was surprised within the first few levels. The combat is fast, brutal, and satisfying. Every punch, blast, and shot hits hard. And more than that, it makes you want to keep going. You play as Jesse, an agent for a secret organization fighting supernatural creatures behind the scenes of American history. The story blends politics, steampunk tech, and vampire mythology in a creative way. It doesn't try to be deep, it's pulp over the top, but it works. Each mission takes you to a new location, with different challenges and a non-stop pace. The whole campaign feels like a roller coaster. Combat is the core here. You mix melee with firearms, electric shocks, and special abilities. You can chain wild combos, control space, and take on huge swarms. Even with all the focus on action, the game never drags. Progression is well-paced, upgrades matter, and enemy variety keeps it fresh. The level design helps too, with detailed environments and subtle alternate paths. Evil West doesn't reinvent the genre, but it moves with so much rhythm and confidence that you stick with it. Don't expect narrative depth or moral choices. Expect pure action with weight and flair. I'm glad I didn't go with my first impression, because sometimes what you need is a game that asks for little and delivers everything it promises. Atomic Heart initially pushed me away. It looked like a messy mashup of ideas. A bit of BioShock, a bit of Wolfenstein, and a flashy Soviet aesthetic that felt more chaotic than original. The trailers confused me, so I passed. But when I finally gave it a try, I found a far more coherent game than I expected. The setting is insane, an alternate Soviet future where tech went too far, and it all unravels within minutes. You play as Major Nuchadev, sent to stop a robot uprising inside a scientific facility, but the situation runs far deeper. The AI has gone rogue, and the secret experiments are grotesque. The story blends ideology, madness, and dark humor with sharp dialogue throughout. The pacing is uneven, but the atmosphere holds it together. It's like falling into a retro-futuristic nightmare. Combat is another highlight. You combine guns with powers that manipulate the environment, freezing enemies, launching telekinetic blasts, and more. You can experiment, find different styles, and explore side paths. All of this happens in a world full of bizarre, striking visuals, dancing robots, twisted mutants, out-of-control machines. The dungeons are detailed and challenging, and the soundtrack keeps you on edge. Atomic Heart is still divisive, but it really surprised me. I thought it'd be all noise, but it's bold, inventive, and packed with personality. Sure, it overdoes things at times, but it also has flashes of brilliance. I'm glad I stuck with it. This world is weird, fascinating, and well worth the dive. I ignored Life is Strange for the longest time. I thought it was just another teen drama trying to be a TV show, full of forced dialogue. The simple visuals and the whole rewind time mechanic felt too shallow. But people kept talking about it with so much heart, I had to give it a shot. And once I did, I realized the game isn't about time travel, it's about choices with real weight. The indie vibe, the small town feel, it all draws you into the core of the story. You follow Max Caulfield, a photography student who learns she can rewind time, but it's not a gimmick, it's a burden. Things get deeper when she reconnects with Chloe, her childhood friend, and together they try to solve a student's disappearance. Max's powers come with a cost. Every change she makes ripples out. The emotional stakes keep climbing. One wrong choice can mean someone's life. What truly hit me was how the game handles hard topics: grief, bullying, depression, abuse. It's all there, and it's handled with care, and because you're part of the story, you can't escape it. The consequences come, and not everything can be fixed. That helpless feeling, it's powerful. You're not playing to win, you're trying to understand. Life is Strange is about emotion, connection, and the weight of doing what's right. I regret brushing it off because of its theme and look. Max and Chloe's story stayed with me long after it ended. It's not about saving the world, it's about saving someone when everything feels lost, and that hit harder than any explosion ever could. I ignored Life is Strange for the longest time. I thought it was just another teen drama trying to be a TV show, full of forced dialogue. The simple visuals and the whole rewind time mechanic felt too shallow. But people kept talking about it with so much heart, I had to give it a shot. And once I did, I realized the game isn't about time travel, it's about choices with real weight. The indie vibe, the small town feel, it all draws you into the core of the story. You follow Max Caulfield, a photography student who learns she can rewind time, but it's not a gimmick, it's a burden. Things get deeper when she reconnects with Chloe, her childhood friend, and together they try to solve a student's disappearance. Max's powers come with a cost. Every change she makes ripples out. The emotional stakes keep climbing. One wrong choice can mean someone's life. What truly hit me was how the game handles hard topics: grief, bullying, depression, abuse. It's all there, and it's handled with care, and because you're part of the story, you can't escape it. The consequences come, and not everything can be fixed. That helpless feeling, it's powerful. You're not playing to win, you're trying to understand. Life is Strange is about emotion, connection, and the weight of doing what's right. I regret brushing it off because of its theme and look. Max and Chloe's story stayed with me long after it ended. It's not about saving the world, it's about saving someone when everything feels lost, and that hit harder than any explosion ever could. I nearly skipped Still Wakes the Deep just because I didn't know what it was. I heard it was a narrative horror game, saw some dark screenshots of an oil rig, and figured it was another jump scare fest. But when I looked deeper, I saw something different. It's set on a 1970s offshore platform where a strange event turns everything into a nightmare. What starts as isolation becomes a desperate descent into the unknown. You play a regular worker, no guns, no powers, trying to survive as the structure collapses. Something has been unleashed from below and it's consuming everything. But the game doesn't explain. It throws you into flickering lights, flooding halls, and haunting sounds. The fear doesn't come from jump scares, it's the fear of what you don't see. Claustrophobic, thick, and psychological. The atmosphere is unreal. Crashing waves, howling wind, the metallic groans of failing machinery. It all immerses you. The sound design matters as much as the visuals. And the few survivors you meet only heighten the panic. Short, desperate conversations full of fear. No one knows what's going on. And you feel deep down that there may be no way out. Hope fades with every room. Still Wakes the Deep doesn't scream, it drowns you slowly. A quiet, crushing kind of horror that relies on tension over spectacle. I'm glad I gave it a shot. I found one of the most immersive and chilling games I've ever played. A story that understands the real fear lies not in what jumps out, but in the silence, the dark, and knowing no one's coming. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And drop a comment. What's a game you almost skipped but now couldn't live without? And hey, if this list hit the mark, check out the video 23 games that got roasted at launch. but are legendary now. It's right there in the card. Thanks for watching, happy gaming, and I'll see you tomorrow.